Welcome to Whispers and Confessions. There might be a twist waiting, so please make sure to watch until the end. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Let's begin right away.
Partner swapping, including intimate activities, was a concept that initially felt uncomfortable and strange. However, the moment our eyes met, a surprising sense of ease washed over me, dispelling any lingering discomfort. Never in my wildest dreams did I imagine I'd find myself in such a situation. I'm John, a 43-year-old professional working for a prestigious firm in New York. My career is thriving. I'm successfully managing an expanding team and shouldering increased responsibilities. Yet, when I cross the threshold of my home, it's as if I've entered an entirely different world. While my professional life follows a structured routine, my personal life is the antithesis. My wife, Rachel, 40, and I have barely engaged in meaningful conversation for years. We've been married for 15 years and are childless. Initially, this didn't concern me, but now it feels like another factor widening the chasm between us. Over recent years, our relationship has steadily cooled, becoming increasingly distant. Our evenings at home have become a silent ritual. We turn on the TV, eat dinner without exchanging words, and then retreat to separate rooms. I used to eagerly anticipate Rachel's culinary creations and our weekend outings together. Now, even these once cherished moments feel fraught with tension. I've often pondered what led to this change. Could it be the demands of my career pulling me away from Rachel? Or has she, too, sensed the growing emotional distance? I'm aware she harbors grievances about my work-centric focus and neglect of our home life. Yet, she never directly expresses these feelings, seemingly struggling to articulate her true emotions. Even trivial matters at dinner can ignite arguments. My late arrivals home, working on weekends, and similar issues. Rachel's resentment builds, but she appears unable to express it constructively. I, too, sense a void in our relationship with Rachel, though I can't precisely define it. There's just this pervasive feeling of emptiness growing between us. Then came a turning point. Our mutual friends, Derek, 45, and his wife Vanessa, 39, extended an invitation for dinner. I've known Derek professionally for years, while Rachel and Vanessa share a long-standing friendship. Perhaps they had noticed the strain in our relationship. The dinner itself was pleasant. Vanessa's warm demeanor and Derek's laid-back nature helped lighten the atmosphere, though a palpable chill remained between Rachel and me. As we dined, Derek unexpectedly broached the subject. "Have you two been spending less time together lately?" We exchanged glances but remained silent. Derek chuckled, interpreting our silence. "Perhaps you both need something novel to reinvigorate your relationship?" Rachel appeared taken aback by his suggestion. Something new? I struggled to grasp his meaning, but his tone suggested he wasn't merely jesting. "What exactly do you mean?" I inquired. Derek offered a subtle smile. "Married life can become monotonous after many years. Sometimes, a bold change is necessary. For instance," he paused, and Vanessa interjected with a gentle smile. "Perhaps exploring a bit of freedom could be beneficial for both of you." When Vanessa's words sank in, and I grasped their full implication, I was momentarily stunned. The concept of partner swapping flashed through my mind, a notion both unexpected and oddly compelling. Rachel's eyes widened, a mix of shock and curiosity evident in her expression. In that moment, I glimpsed something I hadn't seen in her for years, a spark of interest in exploring uncharted territory. As the evening progressed and the wine flowed freely, Derek broached the subject again. "So, John, Rachel, how's your relationship these days? Do you still make time for each other?" The question caught me off guard, leaving me at a loss for words. Rachel, too, remained silent, her gaze fixed on her wine glass. Sensing our discomfort, Derek pressed on with a disarming smile. "You know, we've been there too. Marriage can sometimes feel like a well-worn path, lacking excitement. That's when we started exploring more adventurous ideas." I chuckled nervously. "Adventurous, you say?" Derek's eyes gleamed as he leaned in. "Have you ever considered swapping partners?" The suggestion left me breathless. Rachel's shock was palpable as she glanced between Derek and Vanessa. Part of me wanted to dismiss it as a jest, but their earnest expressions suggested otherwise. Derek, surely you're not serious? I forced a laugh, but Derek's solemn nod confirmed his sincerity. I am. Sometimes, allowing each other the freedom to explore can breathe new life into a marriage. It's a realization we've come to recently. Confusion clouded my thoughts as Derek continued. It's just a suggestion, of course, no pressure. But give it some thought. Rachel remained silent, her face a canvas of conflicting emotions, surprise, uncertainty, and intriguingly, a hint of curiosity. While I felt as unsettled as Rachel appeared, there was something undeniably captivating about the dynamic between Derek and Vanessa. They exuded an air of liberation, unburdened by conventional constraints, and that freedom held a peculiar allure. The drive home was shrouded in heavy silence. Rachel and I sat lost in our own thoughts, the weight of Derek's proposition hanging between us. Though neither of us spoke, his words echoed persistently in my mind. Partner swapping, a concept I'd never seriously entertained before. Yet, as outlandish as it seemed, a part of me wondered if such a drastic change might be exactly what we needed to rejuvenate our relationship. Deep down, I sensed that we both recognized the need for a significant shift. At home, the silence persisted until we settled on the couch. Suddenly, Rachel broke the tension. That suggestion tonight, it was quite shocking. What did you make of it? I hesitated, torn between honesty and convention. It's absurd, isn't it? Not something ordinary couples would consider, I replied, while secretly curious about her thoughts. True, but I can't help but wonder, could something like that actually make a difference? Rachel's words stirred a complex mix of emotions within me. Was she, too, yearning for something more in our relationship? I found myself gazing at Rachel, perceiving a facet of her I'd never encountered before. Are you genuinely contemplating this? I inquired, my voice rising slightly with a mix of concern and disbelief. Her response, however, was surprisingly composed. I'm uncertain, she admitted, but I can't shake the feeling that if we don't initiate some form of change, our relationship will continue to deteriorate, John. Her words struck me with the force of an unexpected blow, leaving me momentarily breathless. The need for change was undeniable, but was this truly the appropriate course of action? Somehow, we found ourselves inexorably drawn into Derek and Vanessa's provocative suggestion. I pondered whether such a drastic step could genuinely revitalize our connection. As I studied Rachel's eyes, I discerned a complex blend of hesitation and curiosity, perhaps even desire. That night, as I lay beside her in bed, my mind was a whirlwind of thoughts, ceaselessly wondering about her inner musings. It was then that I had an epiphany. I, too, felt an unexpected pull towards this unconventional idea. The sensation was peculiar and multifaceted, defying simple explanation. Despite our reservations, we made the decision to acquiesce to Derek and Vanessa's proposal, hoping it might shatter the emotional impasse we'd reached. Initially, we rationalized our agreement as an attempt to reignite the spark in our marriage. However, when confronted with the reality of our decision, the weight of it felt far more substantial than anticipated. Both Rachel and I grappled with a tumultuous mix of anticipation and anxiety, our emotions oscillating wildly. One weekend, we convened with Derek and Vanessa to discuss the intricate details of our arrangement. With each exchange of glances, the atmosphere seemed to shift palpably. Vanessa's looks in my direction took on a new intensity, transcending mere friendliness. When I caught her gaze, she'd offer a subtle smile that sent my pulse racing unexpectedly. The change wasn't limited to my interactions. I observed a newfound, almost shy chemistry developing between Rachel and Derek. Witnessing her engage with another man in this manner stirred an unexpected pain within me, a feeling I hadn't anticipated and struggled to reconcile. On the surface, our meeting maintained a veneer of calm, but beneath it simmered a palpable tension among the four of us. Derek attempted to maintain a light-hearted atmosphere, but underlying his jovial demeanor was an unmistakable undercurrent of anticipation. Finally, the pivotal night arrived. While we hadn't coerced ourselves into this situation, as events unfolded, it became clear there was no turning back. That fateful weekend evening, I watched with a mixture of emotions as Rachel departed with Derek. As she turned to smile at me while entering the car, I found myself unable to decipher the meaning behind her expression. The mere act of imagining where her thoughts might be leading inflicted a deep, visceral pain I was unprepared to confront. As I stepped into the hotel room, an almost tangible electricity crackled in the air between Vanessa and me. The soft click of the door locking behind us echoed like a thunderclap, signaling the point of no return. Despite maintaining a physical distance, the emotional chasm between us was rapidly closing, as if drawn by an invisible force. Vanessa stood framed against the panoramic cityscape, a vision of beauty. Her silken hair cascaded over her shoulders like a waterfall of midnight, catching the soft glow of the city lights. The sight of her ignited a primal desire within me, a hunger I struggled to contain. My heart raced, each beat a reminder of the forbidden nature of our rendezvous. "This feels surreal, doesn't it?" Vanessa's voice, soft yet sultry, broke the charged silence. Her lips curved into a provocative smile, daring me to act. "But we're committed now, aren't we?" Her words shattered the last vestiges of my restraint, challenging me to cross the line we'd drawn. A voice in my head, urgent and insistent, whispered, "Seize this moment. It may never come again." As if pulled by an invisible thread, I found myself moving towards her. Our gazes locked, a silent communication passing between us. Our breaths quickened in unison, the air around us growing thick with anticipation. "Yes, we are," I affirmed softly, my voice husky with desire as I closed the remaining distance. Vanessa mirrored my movement, her body swaying slightly as if drawn to mine. We stood mere inches apart, the heat from our bodies mingling in the narrow space between us. The first brush of her skin against mine sent shockwaves through my system, awakening sensations long dormant. It was as if every nerve ending in my body had suddenly come alive, hyper-aware of her presence. A tide of desire, unlike anything I'd experienced before, washed over us both. Vanessa's responses were fluid and graceful, each subtle movement intensifying our shared passion. The soft curve of her neck, the delicate arch of her back, every detail of her form seemed designed to entice. We fell onto the bed in a tangle of limbs and urgency, the crisp hotel sheets a stark contrast to our heated skin. Her fingers traced intricate patterns of fire across my back, each touch igniting my desire further. The smoothness of her skin under my palms, the warmth of her breath against my neck, every sensation heightened my arousal to a fever pitch. The scent of her perfume, a heady mix of jasmine and something uniquely her, filled my senses, intoxicating me further. In the hushed room, Vanessa's soft gasps near my ear became my entire universe. I sought to match her rhythm, to connect with her on a level deeper than mere physical pleasure. The interplay of our breaths, the whisper of skin on skin, the mounting heat between us consumed me entirely. This forbidden pleasure obliterated all reason, all sense of right and wrong, leaving only raw, unbridled passion in its wake. Rational thought evaporated like morning mist under the sun as we surrendered completely to our desires. On that bed, we reached for each other again and again, riding waves of ecstasy that seemed to crest endlessly. Any lingering guilt or hesitation dissipated, swept away by the overwhelming tide of our shared passion. The world outside ceased to exist. There was only this room, this moment, this connection. Throughout the night, Vanessa and I explored each other with insatiable curiosity, discovering new realms of pleasure with each touch, each kiss. With each intimate encounter, we drifted further from reality, lost in our own world of sensation and desire. Time seemed to lose all meaning as we reveled in the forbidden fruit of our passion, savoring every moment of our illicit union. That night, Rachel and I crossed a line we never thought we'd approach. We each spent intimate moments with someone else, fully immersing ourselves in the experience. It felt like we had taken an irreversible step, one that perhaps we had secretly craved all along, though we'd never admit it to ourselves. The next morning, Reality crashed down on me like a tidal wave. Vanessa lay beside me, her chest rising and falling with each soft breath. As I gazed at her peaceful, sleeping face, the full weight of what we'd done hit me. A potent cocktail of emotions, guilt, excitement, and confusion, washed over me. It felt as though I'd stepped into a parallel universe, one where the rules of my marriage no longer applied. Vanessa's serene beauty only intensified my inner turmoil. Despite the mutual desire we'd shared, I grappled with the implications of our night together. What Vanessa and I had experienced couldn't be dismissed as a mere indiscretion. It was as if a dormant part of me had suddenly awakened, bringing with it a confusing mix of guilt, liberation, and an unsettling excitement that shook me to my core. I found myself questioning everything I thought I knew about myself and my marriage. As I drove home, my mind raced with thoughts of Rachel. What kind of night had she spent with Derek? Did she feel the same tumultuous emotions I was experiencing? The very thought sent a sharp, almost physical pain through my chest. I was torn between wanting to know and dreading the answer. Upon arriving home, I found Rachel in the kitchen, preparing breakfast as if it were any other day. But there was something different about her, a quiet confidence, a subtle glow that I hadn't seen in years. As we sat down to eat, we engaged in small talk, but there was an electric undercurrent to our conversation. It was as if we were both replaying the events of the previous night in our minds, each wondering what the other was thinking. Rachel had changed, that much was clear. Something had awakened in her too, mirroring my own experience. Had she rediscovered a long-lost part of herself? A sense of passion or connection that had been missing from our marriage? Or had she uncovered an entirely new facet of her personality? The possibilities both intrigued and terrified me. After a prolonged silence, I realized that I, too, felt fundamentally altered. The thrill I'd experienced with Vanessa was something I hadn't felt with Rachel in years. Yet, I couldn't shake the nagging feeling that we'd made a grave mistake. The more we interacted with Derek and Vanessa, the more I felt like we were standing on shifting sands, our once solid foundation crumbling beneath our feet. Over the following weeks, Rachel and I repeated our arrangement with Derek and Vanessa several times. On the surface, things appeared to improve between us. We were communicating more, sharing details about our days, even laughing together like we used to. But deep down, a persistent doubt gnawed at me. Was this really an improvement, or were we simply delaying an inevitable confrontation with the truth of our situation? One sleepless night, as I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, a question kept echoing in my mind. Is this really okay? The initial thrill of our unconventional arrangement had begun to fade, replaced by a growing sense of unease. The excitement that had once felt liberating now felt hollow, leaving me with a persistent emptiness. Finally, I decided it was time to address the elephant in the room. Late one night, I asked Rachel to join me in the living room. In the quiet of our home, I looked into her eyes and asked, "Rachel, is this really what we want?" Her expression was a mix of surprise and relief, as if she'd been waiting for one of us to broach the subject. She took a moment to gather her thoughts, then closed her eyes, a gesture that spoke volumes. It was clear she'd been grappling with the same doubts, the same questions that had been plaguing me. The realization hit us like a tidal wave, washing away the facade we'd carefully constructed. Is this really right? Rachel's voice trembled, barely above a whisper, her eyes searching mine for answers I wasn't sure I had. In the pregnant silence that followed, we gazed at each other, the weight of our choices hanging heavy in the air. The ticking of the clock on the wall seemed to echo our racing heartbeats, each second stretching into eternity as we grappled with the enormity of our situation. "I can't say I regret our time with Derek and Vanessa," I finally admitted, my voice hoarse with emotion. "But I'm beginning to question if it's what our marriage truly needs. Perhaps we've been running from our own issues, trying to patch up our relationship with a Band-Aid when it needs major surgery." Rachel nodded slowly, her fingers tracing abstract patterns on the arm of the sofa. "At first," she murmured, "I thought the excitement, the novelty of it all, would somehow magically change everything. But now I'm wondering if we should have been focusing on each other all along, rediscovering what made us fall in love in the first place. Her words resonated deeply within me, striking a chord I hadn't realized was there. We'd been attempting to fix our marriage with something superficial, a thrill that ultimately left us feeling more hollow than before. All the while, we'd been ignoring the real problems festering beneath the surface, like a wound left untreated. With heavy hearts but a shared sense of purpose, we made the difficult decision to end things with Derek and Vanessa before we completely lost ourselves in this misguided attempt at rekindling our passion. As I watched Rachel's face, I could see the same unease I felt mirrored in her expression. But as we came to our decision, her features softened, the tension visibly easing from her shoulders. "What now?" she asked, her voice small but tinged with a hint of hope. I took a deep breath, reaching out to take her hand in mine. "We need to start over, Rachel. Just the two of us. It might be a long, difficult road, but I think we have to face our problems head-on this time. No more running, no more quick fixes. We need to rebuild from the ground up." A faint smile tugged at the corners of Rachel's lips, and for a moment, I caught a glimpse of the woman I'd fallen in love with all those years ago. It was like seeing the sun peek through storm clouds, a promise of brighter days ahead. Together, we made a solemn vow to rebuild what we'd lost, slowly but with unwavering sincerity. And so, hand in hand, we set out on a new beginning. This time, our focus was solely on each other, on rediscovering the connection that had brought us together in the first place. It wouldn't be easy, we knew that. There would be difficult conversations, painful truths to face, and old wounds to heal. But as we looked into each other's eyes, we found a renewed determination to truly reconnect and heal, not just as a couple, but as individuals who had lost their way and were now finding their path back to each other.